Alright, here I am. Okay, just a clear is going to have a lot of content on it. And for now, until I start getting in some more viewers and subscribers, I'm gonna have just a lot of everything. And I do like movies very much. The channel will have a lot of movies. I also like gaming. The channel will have a lot of gaming on it. But I am also a huge fan of professional wrestling, and so I figured I would start a video on that, just explaining my history of wrestling. I started watching wrestling. I don't even remember the age. I was a very young child. I used to watch classic WWF. I had some of the Coliseum tapes. I had some WrestleMania tapes. I didn't have anything in a specific order, so I would just watch whatever I had. Uh, After a few years, I started watching Raw, or Raw is War, I guess. I don't know if it was Raw is War at that time yet. I watched a few episodes of Raw, mainly because I was looking for Hulk Hogan, because he was on many of my tapes. Uh, During this time, as any wrestling fan would know, Hulk Hogan was not in WWF. He was over in WCW. Um, I didn't find Hulk Hogan. I didn't really find anything I liked in WWF. Um, I watched, I guess this was around 95, 96. So right away I found Nitro in this pretty much almost in the same week that I tried watching Raw. And on Nitro, there was Hogan and there was Lex Luger and all these other wrestlers, Macho Man. So I started watching Nitro. I started out pretty much, I guess, a WCW guy, although WWF was my first. When it came to weekly viewing, I was a WCW guy. And when the Monday Night Wars started, around 96, 97, I started bouncing back to both shows. I did this because I still wanted to find the other guys that I saw in the Coliseum tapes, like Yokozuna, and I only think Yokozuna because he was in the Coliseum tape. But from Yokozuna, I started watching other WWF guys. It's hard to say WWF because I'm just so used to hearing WWE. But yeah, I would watch guys in WWF like Shawn Michaels and Triple H and Undertaker, and I really like those guys too. So I would watch Raw and Nitro. I was one of those people who would just bounce back during the commercials. Which one was my favorite? WCW started out very good, but WWF started getting very interesting as well. With Stone Cold, basically, was the main reason that it was very interesting. Uh, Early on, I liked Shawn Michaels a lot. I had an old WrestleMania game, and I would always play as Shawn Michaels. So that's why I liked him. He was an early favorite of mine. When the Monday Night Wars ended, I was a consistent WWF viewer because really that was all there was. Um, so I watched WWF a lot. My favorite wrestler. Oh, by the way, my favorite wrestler in WCW, Goldberg, DDP. I did like Ric Flair a lot. He entertained me. Never actually liked Hogan that much in WCW. He was a lot better in WWE or WWF. And so when the Monday Night Wars ended, I kept watching WWE. I watched WWE, yeah, again with the WWE. Well, right around that time they changed back because of I think it was the World Wildlife Foundation sued them or something. And so I keep watching WWE. Uh, Back in 2004 or 2002, actually, John Cena came on the scene, but he started really to become a main eventer in 2004, 2005. That is when I started not liking it as much. Uh, I was never a fan of Cena. And I would go to live shows and I would be the only one cheering for the other guy. I remember one of the live Monday Night Raws, I was holding up a rated R superstar sign, and I was the only one holding that up. I was the only one cheering against Cena. Today, everybody cheers against the guy. But back then, no matter what anybody says, I was the only one cheering for the other guy. All right. So I was never really a fan of the ruthless aggression era, I know a lot of people say it was the best era, but Cena for me kind of ruined that era, and I felt like it was becoming very predictable. Every time Cena had a main event, he would squash the guy I liked. He crushed Edge. I wanted Lashley to win. He crushed Lashley. He destroyed Angle. I'm surprised him and Undertaker never fought. Uh, I didn't like JBL, so I didn't mind that one when he crushed JBL, but he crushed all of my favorite guys, and I was not a big fan of that period of time. I felt like that period of time didn't represent me as a fan. I felt like it represented like everybody else. Again, today everybody hates the guy, but back then it felt like everybody loved the guy, except for some crowds like the ECW crowd, maybe a few crowds in New York or Chicago, but most people love the guy. So throughout the time of the Ruthless Aggression era, I was becoming a bigger and bigger fan. Especially right after Eddie Guerrero died. I remember right before Eddie died, I would watch it, but I wasn't really huge into it. And then after he died, and they had the episode where Orton. It was on the same episode right after Eddie Guerrero died, where Orton was in Eddie's car, and he like drove the car. I think he hit Undertaker through the Titantron, and it blew up. I thought that was very cool. So I became a big fan after that, and I started buying the DVDs. And many years later, I have a huge wrestling collection. I have a good 300 wrestling DVDs right now. Oh, I forgot. I was a big fan of ECW as well. It was very hard to get, to watch ECW for me. This was before the internet. This was before, I think they had brief stints on cable. I was never able to catch that. I would only be able to watch ECW from the tapes, the VHS tapes I could find. I didn't like ECW as much, I guess because I was younger back then. I didn't understand how revolutionary it was and just how good it was. Wrestling tends to represent the younger fans, and I was a younger fan. ECW tends to represent the older fans. I wasn't older yet, so today ECW, I love it. But anyways, back to my story. I collected lots of DVDs around the Ruthless Aggression era, the post 2000s. I was going back and watching the old stuff. The only place I could watch the old stuff was from DVDs that I bought. So I would watch the old stuff, best of Monday Night Raw, funniest moments of WWF. I would buy the character documentaries, The Rock, Triple H, Austin, Undertaker, all these guys. So I was starting to rewatch the stuff that I missed from pre-1993 to 1995. Those were the years that I missed. Everything before 1995 I pretty much missed my first go around. After the internet came out, I would read the dirt sheets now. I'm one of those hardcore fans that reads all the dirt sheets and keeps up with the behind the scenes stuff because it's just as interesting as what's on screen sometimes. So I'm reading up on the dirt sheets. I won't say which ones. So when the WWE Network came out, of course I became a member right away. In the beginning months, I think I signed on right away. Right when the WWE Network launched, I bought a subscription that day. I remember everything was very hard to view. There were lots of errors, lots of buffering, just I guess from too much traffic, which is a good thing for them. But so I decided I would take a few months off until they fix it. I came back. I don't remember if they released the network WrestleMania month or after WrestleMania. I'm not sure. But I remember I did take a few months off. I came back. I bought another subscription. No. Actually, that time I went on as a free member from my other email address just to see if it was fixed because I didn't want to put my money down on something that's not fixed again. I noticed that the WWE Network was very empty still. They didn't have a lot of ECW, which was what I wanted to watch. They had almost no WCW. I don't think they even had WCW at this time. So I got off it again and took a few months more. I went back on it. They finally had some WCW and ECW content. I caught up on all of the episodes. It took me about a month and a half to catch up on everything that I missed. I watched all the Raws from 1993 to 1995. I watched all of the pay-per-views that they had uploaded onto the network. Um, Tuesday night, I forget what it was called, and main event. I would watch the old interviews Vince would have with the wrestlers like Hogan and Piper, all of those cheesy 80s stuff that I love that stuff now. And so basically, I caught up on all of WWF and all of WCW. So I could say I've literally watched every episode in every pay per view that they ever had. Um, Flash forward to WrestleMania 32, which just passed last April. That show killed my wrestling spirit. And since then, I have not watched any WWE. I have, of course, watched TNA, NXT, ROH, all those other wrestling things, Lucha Underground, PWG. I watch all that stuff, but I do not watch WWE main roster programming because WrestleMania 32 just killed me. And in my next review, I will talk about why it killed me. I do plan to go back and catch up on what I missed. That's the great part about the internet. You can catch up on what you missed. You could take a break. Back then, you took a break before the internet came out, and you basically just miss, the story. And then you just have to catch up on it, and you can't ever really go back. But today, of course, you can go back, and I plan to. So, that's it for today, and I'll make my next review about why WrestleMania 32 killed me.